So we're going to find all vertical asymptotes. And how you find vertical asymptotes is they occur with fractions, which we have a fraction, when the denominator h equals 0, and when the numerator does not equal 0. And we'll talk about that later. But it's a cool little trick, so we don't have to do limits to do this. We just have to start off, we have to set the denominator, 25x squared minus 36, equal to 0. And we're going to solve that. So we're going to move over the 36. We're going to divide both sides by 25. And once we do that, we get x squared equals 36 over 25. We're going to square root both sides, leaving us x equals, don't forget, positive or negative, and the square root of each piece is 6 over 5. So those two are our possible vertical asymptotes. But what we do here, the second part, is we have to plug in these numbers to the numerator to see if you get a non-zero. If you get a non-zero, it's a vertical asymptote. If you get a 0 on top, it's not a vertical asymptote. It's a really cool little trick. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to just do the numerator, and we're going to plug in to the numerator, we are going to plug in the negative 6/5. Okay, so when I plug that in, what I have here is negative 72 over 5 minus 10 times 36 over 25. And if I reduce that, this will cross out with that, leaving 5 and a 2. So I end up with a negative 72 over 5 minus 72 over 5. Now, I don't really care what that equals. I just know it's not equal to 0. So because it's not equal to 0, I know now that x equals negative 6/5 is a vertical asymptote. So my vertical asymptote, I know x equals negative 6/5 is one of them. Now let's check the other. Let's see if positive 6/5 works. So we have 12 times minus 10 times something squared. And we're going to put in positive 6/5. Let's see what happens here. That would be 72 over 5 again, minus 10 times 36 over 25 again. And these reduce, leaving me 72 over 5 minus 72 over 5, which that equals 0, which is an issue. So that means that x equals positive 6/5 is not a vertical asymptote. So my answer is just negative 6/5. That's my only vertical asymptote. Now, if you did limits at negative 6/5, you would see that it's a vertical asymptote. You can even see if they both go up, both go down, what's actually happening there. But we know for sure there's a vertical asymptote right there. This one is probably it's probably a removable discontinuity, a hole or something like that, but we're not talking about that right now. So let's find vertical asymptotes of this. Like we said earlier, we set the denominator equal to 0 to start this, so let's do that. We're going to set x to the 4th minus 16 equal to 0. All right, so there are different ways to solve this. One of the ways you could do is you can move over the 16, and then you can fourth root both sides. So when you fourth root both sides, you get x equals positive or negative 2. Now, that is a trick. That is one way of doing it. There's another way of doing that would be to factor it. And what you realize for factoring is that's x, let me rewrite that. That's x squared, and this is going to be 4 squared. So what you can factor this as is x squared minus 4, x squared plus 4. And then you can factor this as another difference of squares, which is x minus 2, x plus 2, and then an x squared plus 4. And then you can set each piece equal to 0. And what you would get is this one's going to be 2, this one's going to be negative 2, and this one, if you try setting equal to 0, you get x squared equals negative 4, which is not possible. So as you can see, I got the same answers. Just wanted to show you two different ways. Depends on how you want to process it. So, my two answers. So let's see if both are either or whatever vertical asymptotes. So we go to the numerator. So we're going to plug in to the numerator 12 plus 3 times blank squared. We're going to plug in, let's do negative 2. So what do we get there? That's 12 plus 3 times 4. Does that equals 24. So that equals a non-zero. So I do know my vertical asymptotes, I know one of them is going to be x equals negative 2. Let's check the other one. So 12 plus 3 times positive 2 squared. Let's see what we get here. We get 12 plus 3 times 4 equals 24. So yes, another one. So we also know that 2 is a vertical asymptote. So both of them are. The reason is because when you plug it into the numerator, you get a number over 0, not a 0 over 0.